Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new video and kind of podcast. If you're listening to this, it will be on streaming services for you, but this is not a normal episode of Waves on the Shore. This is a new series me and Jaren have decided to do separately because a good chunk of you liked when we talked about movies. You guys liked my cluelessness and Jaren's not cluelessness. So we decided rather than adding it in the podcast where it kind of just like, the podcast is music based, but we were like, hey, this is fun. So we're going to start a new series. It is another unnamed series. So if you have any suggestions, feel free. And I think the goal moving forward is this will also be a bi-weekly segment, which means when they're staggered, you guys are going to be getting stuff every single week. So like, I mean, you're living the dream right now. But yeah, this is an idea
More of
Jaren
us.
brought up.
What's better than more of us? You know. Yeah.
What?
I said, what's better than more of us? That's
I
all
don't think
anybody could ever
anything.
want.
Yeah, like I mean, you've got double the content.
Yeah.
Seeing me and Jaren's faces on your screen or hearing our
Two
voices in your
studs.
car.
Mhm.
I don't. I. That's all you need in life, really: food, water, and waves on the shore, and the new movie segment, which is unnamed. Please comment names. But today, the very first official, because we've talked about the James Bond movie Casino Royale. We talked about the rom com. I'm forgetting the name.
It's called The Holiday.
The
That was
Holiday.
I, I have to. I think I've already done it, but I need to apologize for having that. I probably shouldn't have had that be the first movie that
It's
you
all right,
go
it's
and
all
watch
right.
for this segment. I had just watched it, and I was like, it was fresh on my mind, and I was like, I'll just have Evan watch this movie. It's on Netflix.
It wasn't that bad. But yeah, this is
It's
technically kind of the third installment of this movie series, but the first official one in its own podcast, its own recording. It's separate. We're just gonna talk about a movie today. And Jaren, why don't you introduce to the listeners and viewers the movie we are talking about today?
All right, so about 2 weeks ago, I'm thinking like, all right, what's the next movie I gotta have Evan watch? And I'm thinking, okay, well, first off, it's gotta be on Netflix because Evan's a poor pleb and doesn't have anything else. And so I'm like, okay.
Be happy
well,
I
I mean,
have Netflix, given how rarely I use it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like,
I mean, the rest of your family uses it though. Maybe, kind of.
occasionally.
Your whatever. Your brother does. You've told me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I'm thinking, oh, okay. I'm like looking through Netflix, and then I'm like, oh, Warrior. Warrior's a great movie. And then I'm remembering like, oh yeah, Evan loves MMA and all that other fighting, punchy fighty stuff, so I was like, this is perfect, and so
It was.
I told Evan to watch it, and then I also decided to rewatch it. I'd already seen it, obviously, but I decided to rewatch it, and well, Evan, why don't you give us your thought? Well, actually, let me give a little. This movie is about two brothers.
Yeah, give a quick recap.
Yeah. So essentially, we find out throughout the movie how these brothers grew up, and they've kind of been estranged for like the last couple years, and it just kind of happens that they both happen to enter into this tournament, like this. Is it technically a? You're more versed on like is it like a UFC tournament?
So
It's just an MMA.
So basically, there's these two brothers that grew up in a home training to fight. They wanted to be fighters. Their dad was a coach, and then events happened and they kind of got separated. Neither of them really saw their dad for a long time. Both of them kind of have mixed feelings towards him, and the two brothers cross paths again unknowingly when they both enter a tournament, a 1 day tournament, which is a thing you will not see anymore. Like way back in the day, when MMA was first becoming a thing, and it was pretty like unsanctioned, pretty sketchy. Just kind of like it was very new. No one really knew what they were doing as far as like different organizations and banners and leagues went. There wasn't a whole lot. So, and also the lack of knowledge surrounding like recovery time. So sometimes different promotions would put on these tournaments, these one night tournaments where it's like a bracket. You fight somebody, winner moves on, and then in like 2 hours you got another fight, and then you got another, right, and you see who can win. And I believe even the UFC started as a tournament style thing. It was Hoist Gracie who was kind of just like, yo, jiu-jitsu's better than all these boxers, and I'll fight y'all in one night, and the UFC's born.
That's actually
so
pretty funny.
it is really funny. So yeah, it's like a one night tournament with some pretty big names. These don't happen anymore for a lot of reasons. Contract reasons, health reasons.
I was gonna say health and safety would be a pretty big one.
I mean, Bellator. So I'm gonna nerd out because this is. I was saying to Jen before we recorded. Normally, like when I watch a movie like James Bond, it's like I haven't seen any other James Bond, so I don't really like. I can appreciate the movie for what it is, but beyond that, I don't have a lot to say.
Yeah, you've probably already talked more in this video.
Probably, but with this one, the subject matter, the whole point of the movie is like right up my alley. So, yeah, last year, Bellator, which is kind of like another promotion like the UFC, just not as big, they tried to put on a tournament at the light heavyweight division, but not like a one night thing. It was like dragged out over a year. So it's like in this month we're gonna have 2 fights on the same, or like all the guys fight on the same night, and then in like 4 months is gonna be the next round, and then a few months gonna be the next round, and it was gonna be great to like watch unfold over like the course of like 16 months or however long it was gonna be. But then Anthony Rumble Johnson got hurt, I believe, and that's really ironic because you wouldn't have picked up on this, but Anthony Johnson's actually a cameo in the movie.
Oh, okay.
He plays I forget the name, but I'm pretty sure the nickname of the guy was Midnight something. But I was watching the movie, I was like, that is Anthony Johnson. So I thought that was kind of cool that they had a actual cameo. He wasn't called Anthony Johnson in the movie.
Name? Anthony Johnson?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up just because I'm curious.
He wasn't called Anthony Johnson in the movie, but
but
he was playing somebody. Let me see.
Orlando Midnight.
Yes, that's who he was playing. But of course, this is also way back in like 2010, somewhere around there. So he was very young at the time. So it's like a young Rumble, and here, before I give too many thoughts, because I feel like I'm already nerding out over this, we should probably finish the summary as what actually happens.
Yeah. You were doing a pretty good job of it, so just keep going.
Well, like, okay, so, but because I have a lot of things that I
okay.
A lot of things I picked up on, but do you want to keep doing the summary of the movie, or do you want me to kind of?
I'll finish summarizing it.
Look, you're giving me my chance, and I'm taking it.
All right, essentially, they're both raised. They were raised young as fighters. They wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
One, and their father's abusive. We should say that.
Yeah, alcoholic.
He's out. He's got an alcohol addiction, and at one point, when they're both in high school, the younger brother runs away with their mom, and they tell the other brother about it, but the older brother stays behind. What's the older brother's name? Tommy's the younger brother. Who's the older brother?
Was it?
Do you remember?
Gosh, wait.
Oh gosh, we're slacking. Anyway,
we are. It's been a few weeks. Why can I not remember the names?
We'll call him older brother for now. Anyway, the older brother stays with the dad because he's in a relationship with a girl that he genuinely believes that he loves, and as he grows up, you find out that he's married and has 2 daughters.
Okay, so Tom Conlon is the older brother in the movie, and Brendan Conlon is the younger brother.
Yeah, so Tommy's the younger one, Brendan is the older one. Okay, so Brendan stayed home. He's raised a family, and then on the other side of that, Tommy has ran away with his mom to have a better life, and she gets sick and dies, and then he enlists in the military and becomes a Marine.
And a hero.
And a war hero, but also a deserter, because while you find out near the end of the movie that he actually, the reason he doesn't want people, part of the reason he doesn't really want attention is because he was actually deserting from, he was running away during a fight, and he saved somebody's life while he did that, and they caught it on camera, and people managed to find out that he was that guy. So he is a hero, but he is also like
Yeah,
a fugitive.
it's a weird spot.
Yeah.
So
that's where those characters are at. One has a family. And Brendan's a high school teacher. We should probably say that.
Yes, and he gets suspended.
One's a high school teacher and one's a Marine. Yeah.
He gets suspended because he's fighting to try and make money, and the teachers are like, or the principal's like, "This is not a good look. You're showing up to work with a black eye, and you're just fighting in parking lots."
He's not just doing it for fun. We should say that.
Yeah, no, Brendan is doing this for money. He needs money.
He needs money for his family because they're gonna lose their house.
Yes, and so then the draw of this tournament is the multi-million-dollar payout if you win, and then so they enter this tournament.
So let's. Brendan's winning to keep for his family essentially.
Yes.
To keep the house, all that stuff.
Tommy's winning because he just wants to fight.
Well, no, Tommy's fighting for his best friend who died.
Oh, right. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, he's fighting so that he can support his best friend's family, his widowed family. That's the word. Widowed is right. And so they both have these. They're both. The reason this movie works so well for me is because you want at least
both of them to win.
Me, you want both of them to win,
Mm-hmm.
and you understand where you understand where this Venom. They both have this disdain for their father, who has since become at this point in the movie when we're watching.
He's tried to kind of regain that.
He's
connection.
1,000 days sober, and he's just become better. He's found faith, and he's a nice person, but
they don't.
Tommy doesn't believe that. They don't want any part of him. Neither of his sons want anything to do with him because they don't trust him. Because for the past 28 years of their lives, I think Tommy's like late 20s. I think Brendan's like early 30s. So roughly 30 years of their lives, they've been abused by this guy, and then all of a sudden he's just this like new man, and they don't buy into that. So that's also a big part of the movie: alcohol addiction and forgiveness. Those are two really big themes that run throughout the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and then tournament goes down, and against all odds, Brendan, main character, he wins. Spoiler alert. And why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not. I'm listening to you. Sorry.
So I thought I said something wrong. I was like, what? They end up meeting in the final because it's a movie. So the two brothers end up meeting in the final fight, and Brendan ends up winning. And they kind of make up a little bit.
Make up, not make out.
Make up. I said make up. Did I say make out?
No, you
they didn't make out.
I was just being stupid.
But yeah.
I was being stupid.
That's kind of how the movie goes. So you got two brothers that have been separated. They cross paths again in a fighting tournament, both fighting because they need money to support different causes, and it's really compelling because you're cheering for both of them, but only one of them can win. So that's kind of the summary.
One other thing.
Yeah.
After this, we'll have you give your thoughts, but you're not just rooting for the brothers. You're also rooting for their dad in a way, because at least as an audience member, at least I find it frustrating in this movie when neither of them are willing to give their dad the time of day. And the thing is, you get why they're doing or saying what they're saying.
Yeah.
But you also see that their dad has changed, and he's
trying. He wants a connection.
And so that's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, there's one really tough scene where like he's waiting at the bottom of the driveway, and like the dad sees this little kid in the window, and he's like, "Oh, who's that?" Because like the dad and the son, Brendan, just didn't. he was like, no, I'm going inside. He didn't want to explain, so he doesn't even know he has kids. Or he knew he had one. He didn't know he had a second or anything. They're very distant, which
Yeah.
makes it tough. But as for my thoughts, I think I really like this movie for a few reasons. I think in general, like the storyline with them reuniting, obviously it's a movie, so of course certain things are gonna happen certain ways.
Yeah.
It's all like pretty much every fight is a big comeback. Like he's on the brink of losing, and then he whips it out and ends up winning. And
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole. I do like that they made it so that the brothers have two completely different fighting styles.
yes.
Tommy is like this animal. Like,
Yes,
just,
very
like,
animalistic.
He comes out like swinging, and then Brendan.
Brendan's much more thought through.
He's willing to take. He's willing to take a lot of punches. Kind of similar to Rocky, actually. In the sense
He
that
kind
can
of
take a
rides the
lot.
long ride. He trusts in his
Yeah.
like skill set, which is mostly wrestling. And I guess it's also at this time that I would throw in that I'm pretty sure, not certain, but I'm pretty sure that Brendan he's got to at least be inspired by Chael Sonnen. If you look up Chael Sonnen, he was a UFC fighter and in Bellator. He was probably bigger in Bellator, but the fighting style, the stance, the wrestling, the physique, the look, like even they look similar. I can't help but, and I don't know a whole lot about Chael's background. If it winds up that Chael Sonnen used to be a teacher, then absolutely 100% he was based off of him. But simply based off the fighting style alone, I felt like I was watching Chael Sonnen at times. I was like, okay, this is Uncle
I do
Chael.
know that some people. This is just what I've read about it because I have read a little bit about like what people think about this movie. Some people think that the Brendan Conlon, so the older brother, some people may think that he's loosely based on UFC fighter Rich Ace Franklin. Franklin was also a teacher, and a high school teacher, I believe. Yeah, a high school teacher who took part in a and who took part in cage fights to make money.
Oh. And you know what? I can see the resemblance there too. I just based off like visuals and fighting styles. Like, okay, this is very reminiscent of Chael Sonnen. But now that you say Rich Franklin, I can see that. I didn't know Rich Franklin was a teacher. But actually, yeah, never mind. Well, don't completely ignore that because there definitely are similarities in the fighting style and the way they carry themselves.
I think in a lot of ways these people are probably these characters are probably based off of a lot of different people.
Oh yeah, I mean Koba, the scary Russian like dark horse that everyone thinks is gonna win. This guy who's coming from the middle of nowhere with this absurd strength.
Obviously based off of Vladimir Putin. Obviously.
No, I think he is based off of Fedor Emelianenko.
Yes.
Slightly.
I'm well acquainted with Fedor.
I just the mystique around them. The mystique around them is very similar. Both Russian, both bigger guys, both bald. I mean, Fedor don't got the body like Koba in the movie. I will say that. Fedor, fantastic fighter. A lot of people think he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he ain't rocking a six pack. Fedor's a heavyweight. But yeah, what other things did I pick up on? I thought it was really cool. There's no way you would have picked up on this, but the commentator for the fights and the guy who is doing the TV analysis after and in between fights saying like, all right, next up is this guy, blah, 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 or like, welcome back, like to this. That is John Anik, who at the time he would have just been another analyst, but now he's like the head commentator. He's like the voice of the sport. Like the biggest events, every pay-per-view event, John Anik is the main commentator. Any like super significant one, it's John Anik. So that part aged really well because do I think they could have gotten the main voice at the time? I don't know what the budget of this movie was, so maybe not. But they got John Anik, who would, like I said, would have just been another like UFC analyst that they're like, hey, do you want to act like the commentator here? But that aged really well because now he is the guy in the UFC. He is the commentator, like at least for me.
$25 million budget.
Ooh, that's not a whole lot, is it?
Well,
That's
for
a
a
good
movie like
amount.
this, for a movie like this, you don't need
Also true.
look, it's not Avengers, you know. We don't need 200 million.
Yeah.
So an eighth of that for like a movie where two guys are getting sweaty on a mat. Yeah, 25 million's pretty good. I like.
Yeah.
I think like this. I know you're not super into movies, but like I think the first A Quiet Place movie only had a budget of 10 million. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Maybe it was
Only
20
$10 million. These people are broke.
Yeah, it might have been 20 million, but it wasn't that much. Austin, are you fact checking me right now? No, you're not. You're on Instagram. Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, if you're not, if you're listening, Jaron has a live audience right now.
Oh,
His
I
buddy's
do,
in there.
I do. But he's being my buddy Austin's over here sitting on my floor. He's being a great live audience member and is being quiet. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
what were you saying?
I think, yeah, those are some connections I picked up on. Also, Anthony Johnson. I was like, hey, that's Anthony Johnson. There's a lot of like cool things seeing how they chose to interpret the sport and whatnot, and like, but I will say one of my criticisms of the movie I found was in the actual fights themselves. The choreography.
I was gonna ask you about the choreography.
Yes.
How,
The choreography wasn't bad. It was just too repetitive. Like,
okay.
especially in the Koba fight, it's like, oh wow, he comes out with the exact same combo. And then Brendan's going to take him down, and they get back up. And, you know, the round's over. Brendan's almost out of it. How's he going to come back? And then the second round starts, and Koba does the exact same combination. And it's more of the same. And then they come out for the third round, and Brendan pulls out a submission. And then, of course, the next fight, it's like, comes out with a similar combination. Brendan gets beat up in the first round, comes back out in the second round, so in that, like, the choreography itself was not bad. It looked pretty darn good, especially for a movie, like, because you're trying to dramatize it, but it's not to a point where it's like, okay, this, like, I felt like I was watching a fight. It's just at times it was like, okay,
You could tell. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, can we throw in like maybe not a hook uppercut combo?
As a non MMA person, I literally will watch it's not I'm against MMA. I actually think it's pretty cool. But like as far as like boxing or MMA fighting, UFC, all that other stuff, I'm not super well versed in it. So as a person who's watching this,
Oh, I'm sure it
it's
wouldn't bother
really,
me at all.
really, really entertaining. At least for me.
Oh yeah. Like
I'd rather watch this over baseball any day. Any day.
because I mean, like the takedowns
Any
and
day.
whatnot, it was like, yeah, like this looks legitimate. Like it's emphatic, but it's not to the point where it's unbelievable. It's just like, you know, it's like a Michael Chandler takedown, which you're not gonna understand that reference. But
Of course. No, I totally get that.
Michael Chandler, just everything he does has to be super like extra.
Oh.
It's like if he's gonna
Okay,
take someone
gotcha.
down, he's gonna
There's-
literally pick you up and
there's-
hoist you.
I think
stuff like
there's
that.
those guys in every sport. I feel like it just
Yeah,
looks a little bit
yeah.
different, you know.
Yes, very much so. Michael Chandler also, me and my friends were talking about this because he fought like, what's the day today even? Like 6 days
It's
ago?
Thursday.
Saturday, whatever, 5 days ago. And I mean, he had one of the like actually scariest knockouts ever. It's like, did he just kill Tony Ferguson? But
Oh.
we're always saying how he always comes to fights in the craziest physique. Like he almost looks as good as me. If you look up Michael,
Stop. Bruh, you just slipped that in there. Come
if
on.
you Google Michael
Hey,
Chandler,
yo. No. It'll
If
be a
you
picture of it'll be a comparison photo of Evan and him just next to Evan will just be just roided up just
yeah. If you look up a picture of Michael Chandler, you'll understand what I mean. He's like, he's catching up to me. I have to get back in the gym,
stop.
or he's
Okay,
gonna
okay.
like surpass me.
All right. All right, so Evan, I have a question.
Yes, I might have an answer.
So compared to, I mean, we've only watched two other movies. How does this stack up to these two other movies? It's very I would say it's very. Every movie we've watched has been very.
So
But like, as far as like, is this the favorite one, or like, does it? Cause like, Casino Royale was really good.
see
But
the thing.
But you're an MMA person, so that's.
This is the thing, right? I could definitely relate to Warrior more because I knew what was going on. I knew all the things they
Yeah.
were talking about. I got the context. I could see the Easter eggs and everything, and that as a viewer is cool. But
I
I
think
still think.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say
Well,
I still think I prefer Casino Royale.
okay.
Like because I think Warrior. I think it's a great movie, but it didn't
I can
necessarily
see
have me on the edge of my seat.
yeah, I can see someone being mm, affected by this way more than somebody else if they've dealt with if they've dealt with like alcohol abuse,
Yeah.
and I think it depends on personal experience. Because I know a guy who, like, one of the movie critics that I really like, Sean Chandler. He was actually a pastor, and he had an alcohol addiction. And this movie is one of his favorite movies ever, and partially that's because of how much it hits home for him, and how convicting it is for himself in his own life. So I could see that being a reason why it's like somebody's favorite movie.
Yeah.
But that also being said, I do like Casino Royale more.
Yeah, because I think
I realize that we're comparing two completely different movies.
very
but still.
different. And like I can't comment much on like the actual creation of the movie and like the techniques because I have not seen enough movies to actually critique it. But I do think that like Warrior beside Casino Royale definitely had a lot more going on, and I I loved that movie, man, Casino Royale, because everything was so high stakes, and I'm
It's-
just like the
Okay, we
cinematography and everything. That was, I still think that's my favorite one we've watched so far.
Okay. So Evan, do we want to watch Quantum of Solace as our next movie?
I'm very down.
Okay. Well, here's what we'll do, and this will be on the record. We'll for now, for the foreseeable next couple months, we'll alternate the Daniel Craig James Bond movies with like another movie. So like every other week it'll be James Bond, and then or every other
Every other week.
every other week because it's already bi-weekly. But yeah, so we'll do that. That'll be fun. So, but to start wrapping things up, could you what's a number score that you'd give this movie?
I was gonna ask you if you had a rating, but you beat me to it.
Okay, well, you just asked. It's fine. I'll go first. 'Cause
Okay.
I kind of want to. So it's interesting because I think I can't talk. Sorry, my brain is in a jumble. Okay, so I've seen this movie twice. I watched it a second time when I asked you to watch it, and watching it a second time, I think I appreciated it a lot more, especially the family stuff. Like I know I already did, but that stuff really, yeah, and like just seeing all that stuff go down, and I was just like, man, this is a really good fight. Like I've seen some good fighting movies, like Southpaw. That's a pretty solid one. I think this is probably better than Southpaw, which is one that we'll probably watch because I think you'll like it. We need to watch Rocky too.
Yeah.
I don't. You haven't seen Rocky probably. No.
I probably should have, but
Yeah,
we
we'll hit some fighting movies. Maybe we'll
We
do
will.
like fighting movies and James Bond. That's what we'll do. That's not a bad
we'll figure out a rhythm.
idea.
But yeah, rating score
but
out of
out
10.
of-
Where do you plop this one?
I'm gonna give it like an 8. I'd say like a maybe. I could even maybe lead towards an 8.5. Like I think it's a really good movie. Like,
I don't want to be boring, but I was thinking in the same ballpark because I think the movie itself, like the way the scripting, the plot, all that stuff, is probably like in the 7 range for me. But I think, like, just it was so much fun to watch for me because of like the connections and stuff. It's like, oh, there's John Anik. Oh, there's Rumble Johnson. Oh, this is alluding to this. Oh, this was this. That, like, it just made it a lot more fun to watch because I was just like, hey, I can see
just
these things.
sprinkled little Easter eggs for. the
Yeah, and
MMA
it was
fan.
cool. So I think myself, if I had to give a number score, I think I'd give it like right on the dot 8.
Okay.
8 flat. That's how I'm feeling. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I believe that is the end of. Here, wait. Let me give this.
A temporary
We'll tentatively, yeah, we'll tentatively call this Evan and Jared. I just called myself Jared. Evan and Jaren. Jared's the name of my RA. My ex-RA, because I'm not in college anymore. Anyway, Jaren and Evan attempt... Bro, I'm tired. Attempt to have a coherent conversation about a movie.
That one really rolls off the tongue.
That's what this has been.
Viewers,
Sorry,
good luck getting a better name than that. But yeah, this has been the first official movie segment, movie episode. Let us know what you thought. Let us know movies you still want to see. Let us know names for the segment that you want us to call this, because we need a name for it. And yeah, Warrior, if you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. We both recommend it. If you have seen it, let us know what you think in the comments. If you found other Easter eggs that I didn't, any MMA nerds, let me know. And yeah, unless you have anything else to say.
Scotland forever!